Hello viewer, welcome for Business Studies Form 3. We would like to hear your views, or in case you have any question on business studies, you can get to us through our SMS number 40007 or through our Facebook page, Erimu TV, or our Twitter handle, which is Erimu_KE. Today, we are going to look at the other part of supply. But let's now look at our lesson preview. We are going to start by reviewing our last lesson. We're also going to look at the movement along a supply curve and the shift in supply curves. We are also going to look at how price is determining price of commodities. So let's look at our last lesson preview. I left you with a question. You're supposed to give circumstances under which law of supply may not hold. Remember, the law of supply states that an increase in price increases supply, decrease in price decreases supply. So you find that in some occasions that may not hold, and the circumstances under which the law of supply may not hold is one, future expectation of fall in prices. If you expect the prices are going to decrease further in future, more is supplied. So you see, in that case, when more is supplied, that means supply is increasing. But it is increasing not because the prices have increased. No. So that one goes against the law of supply. The other one is agricultural products. You find that agricultural products production depends on climatic conditions. Like now, if the fruits have seasons, so when the given fruit is on season, you find that more is supplied during that because it is on season. But it's not supplied more because the prices are high. So that one goes against the law of supply. The other one is perishable goods like vegetables and fruits. So if goods are highly perishable, they are supplied more before they go bad. They are supplied more before they go bad, not because the prices are high. The other one is the low developed countries. That is due to shortage of resources. And you find that in the less developed countries or the third world countries, supply does not depend on the price. At some point, we may need to supply more, but due to lack of resources, that one does not hold. The other one is the supply of rare items. These are items that are not easily available. So when they are available, more of those items are supplied. So we don't look at prices when in case of rare items. The other one, you're supposed to give the factors accounting for an increase in supply. What would make supply to increase, supply of products to go up? The first one is the improved technology. Improved technology. When you use the best technology, production increases. Therefore, supply also increases. The other one is favorable weather conditions. Favorable weather conditions, and you find that for the products that depend on weather so much, if the condition of the weather is favoring the growth, for instance, of some products, their supply increases. You find that even on other goods, bad weather like flooding can affect the supply because there can be so much rain and therefore the roads become impassable. Therefore, you find that one will decrease supply. The other one is the decrease in cost of production. When the cost of production decreases, more goods are produced. Therefore, that increases supply. The other one is expected fall in price of the product in future. So if suppliers expect that from tomorrow the final price of the product will go down, they would supply more for today. The other one is the availability of factors of production. Remember, I mentioned the factors of production, which include RAD, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. If all the factors are available, that increases production. But if one is not there, production goes down or does not happen at all. Favorable government policies like reduced tax holidays, giving of subsidies, that one increases supply. Let's now look at our specific objectives for the lesson. And by the end of the lesson, you as the runner, you should be in a position to 1. Exploring the movement along and the shift in our supply curve. You should also be able to explain the equilibrium price and quantity, as well as the methods of determining the price of a product. Let's now start with the movement along a supply curve, and this one refers to the response of a quantity of a commodity supplied to price changes in the market. Remember, when you are plotting the supply curve, we plotted price against quantity supplied, and you can say movement along a supply curve is caused by changes in prices of commodities in the market. When you talk of changes in prices of commodities in the market, prices can either increase or decrease. Movement along a supply curve. Movement along a supply curve is just like there it is illustrated there. You can see we have 3 points, point X, point Y, and point Z. And let's say a product was being sold at 6. Now, price may increase from 6 to 10. And you can see the effect of that. The effect is that the quantity supplied increases from 6 to 12. And therefore, there is a movement along the supply curve. That is from point X to point Y. On the other hand, if price decreases from, for example, 6 to 4, find that the quantity supplied decreases from our initial point, which is point X, that is corresponding to quantity supplied 6. So quantity supplied decreases from 6 to 3. And therefore, there is movement along the supply curve, that is from point X to point Z. And that is how we explain the movement along a supply curve. Let's now look at shift in supply curve, and this one is referred to as a change in supply, and this is caused by changes in other factors affecting supply apart from prices. Please note that movement along the supply curve is caused by only changes in price. It is caused by only changes in price. So, changes in price does not cause shift in supply curve, but it is caused by other factors other than the price of a commodity. So, when we talk of shift in a supply curve, the supply curve might either shift towards the left or shift towards right. And let's start with a shift to the left. A shift to the left is whereby the supply curve moves from its initial position towards the left-hand side. And just like the shift in demand curve, a shift towards left implies decrease in the quantity supplied. Now, you can see the shift, the supply curve is shifting from S to S1. It is shifting from S to S1. So this one is supposed to illustrate a decrease in the quantity supplied. Now, you may ask yourself, what are these factors that bring about a decrease in supply or shift of the supply curve to the left? One of the factors is the unfavorable weather conditions. This is whereby you may have floods, and therefore, after flooding, roads becomes impassable, bad weather conditions, even planes cannot fly. So, supply of goods becomes a challenge that decreases supply, or in other words, shifts the supply curve from to the left, that is to the left. The other factor that would cause a shift of the supply curve to the left is the use of traditional methods in the production process. That means you use poor technology, outdated. So what happens when you use traditional methods in the production process? You produce goods that are of low quality, and therefore the demand for those goods is down. And therefore, since the demand is low, not many people will demand for that good. The supply will be low. So use of traditional methods decreases supply. The other one is the high cost of production. High cost of production. I've mentioned again that high cost of production makes the final price of the product to be high. And when the price of a product is high, people demand less. And when they demand less, then you'll be forced to supply less. So high cost of production reduces supply or makes the supply curve to shift to the left. The other one is the expected increase in price of the product in our future. Remember, from the law of supply, increase in price increases goods supplied, and the decrease in price reduces the quantity supplied. So if you would expect, you as a supplier, if you expect the goods of the product to increase tomorrow, you'll supply very little today. You wait for tomorrow for prices to go up, then you supply more. So expectation of price increasing in future reduces supply now. The other one is unfavorable government policy, like increase in taxation. You find that if a product is taxed, what happens is that the price of that product goes up. And remember, from the law of demand, increase in price reduces demand. So if the price of a product is high, people will demand less, and therefore you will need to be forced to supply very little. Let's now look at the shift to the right. Shift to the right, and this one you are supposed to note that this implies an increase in the quantity supplied in the market. Just you can see illustrated on your screen. This is whereby the original supply curve shifts towards right. Let's look at the factors that causes a shift to the right, and one of them is improved technology. When you use an updated and up-to-date technology, you produce goods of high quality. People demand more of that good, and therefore you are supposed to supply more because the demand is high. The other factor is availability of factors of production. If all factors of production are in place, definitely you will produce more, therefore your supply will increase. The other one is unfavorable weather conditions. Favorable weather conditions. Favorable weather conditions. If the weather is okay, then supply will not have any hiccups, therefore we'll be able to supply more. The other one is decrease in cost of production. If the cost of production is reduced, the price of the final product will be cheaper. People will demand more, and you have to supply more. The other one is favorable government policy, like giving tax holidays, reducing tax. When that is reduced, the price of the product becomes low. People demand more. You're able to supply more. And the last one is the expected fall in price of the product in future. If suppliers expect the price of the product to decrease tomorrow, they will supply very much now. So if they expect the price to decrease in future, they'll supply more before the price goes down. Because remember, they want to make more profit. Let's now look at the equilibrium. The equilibrium price and quantity. Equilibrium price and quantity. And this one is brought about when you plot the demand curve, which slopes downwards from left to right. And also the supply curve, which slopes downwards from right to left. On the x-axis you have price. On the y-axis you have the price. On the x-axis, you have the quantity. Remember, now we are combining both the quantity demanded and the quantity supplied. The point where the two curves meet, that is the demand curve and the supply curve. We call that point the equilibrium point. The equilibrium point. So let's start with the equilibrium quantity. The equilibrium quantity. And this is the quantity. You can define this as the quantity the sellers are willing to sell at a given price and buyers are willing to buy at the same price. You can see that the two curves, the demand curve and the supply curve, are meeting at a point. So that point where they are meeting, the equilibrium point, is where you have the equilibrium quantity. And that is where you can say it is at that point where you find the quantity that the sellers are willing to sell at a given price. At the same time, the buyers are willing and they are able to buy at that price that the sellers are offering to them. It is still at the same point where you would still talk of equilibrium price. It is still at the same point where you would talk of the equilibrium price, and this you would define this as the price at which the sellers are willing to sell a stated quantity of a commodity which the consumers are willing and are able to buy. That is where the demand curve and the supply curve meet. Let's now look at the combined demand and supply schedules. How do we come up with the equilibrium point? It is important to note that we come up with the equilibrium point after plotting the demand curve and also the supply curve with the price on the y-axis. We have an example of a schedule there. You have the price. You also have the quantity demanded and the quantity supplied. Once you plot this, so quantity should be on the x-axis and then price on the y-axis. If you plot this, that's when you are going to come up with the curve that we have just looked at, that is giving us the equilibrium point. So the equilibrium price and quantity curve is derived from the combined demand and supply schedule, as you can see. And the equilibrium quantity and equilibrium price are determined by the supply and the demand forces. You can see one of the curve is the demand curve and the other one is the supply curve. After you plot, you are going to come up with something, a graph like that one. And the market forces are the one that determines that point. We are calling the equilibrium point. So one way of determining the price of a product is the market forces. The market forces determines the equilibrium point, and that equilibrium point is whereby you will get the equilibrium price and also the equilibrium quantity. So we also have other methods. That is one method we have talked about of determining the price of a product is the market forces. Market forces, whereby we come up with the equilibrium point from the demand curve and the supply curve. Still, we have some other methods of determining the price of a product. And the other methods may include the government policy. Government policy, this is whereby the government comes in and maybe sets the price of a product and states that the price of this product should not go beyond a given figure. You also have haggling, also referred to as bargaining. That is whereby the buyer bargains with the stated price of the seller. The other one is auctioning, bidding. We are going to look at this in details. And we also have tendering, also referred to as procurement. So that marks the end of our lesson. But when we meet next, we are going to look at in details at these other methods of determining the price of a product. In summary, we have said that the demand and the supply forces determines the price of a product. Remember, after we plot the demand curve and the supply curve, we get the equilibrium point. And therefore, from the equilibrium point, we have the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity. Try the following questions. We are going to review them in our next lesson. Define the term equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Number 2, with the help of a diagram, show how equilibrium price and quantity for any product are determined. Thank you for watching. Continue watching and learning. I'm going to review with the quote of the day. A business quote of the day says that there is only one boss, that is the customer. And this boss can fire everybody in the company, all the way from the chairman down there. So, simply by spending his money somewhere else. So, you should always understand, anytime you are in business, that the customer is your boss. So, you should make sure that the customer is always well satisfied. See you next lesson.